You're listening to Queeries on 100.5 FM, CFRO, Vancouver's Cooperative Radio, and joining us now is Carmel. Hi, go ahead and introduce yourself, let us know your pronouns, and tell us a little bit about what's going on next month.
Wonderful. Well, my full name is Carmel Tanaka. My pronouns are she and her. And I am the founder and executive director of JQT Vancouver, which is a volunteer run Jewish, queer, and trans nonprofit in town. It's an exciting time at JQT. We've just released our BC Jewish, Queer, and Trans Seniors Resource Guide, which I look forward to diving into in a little bit. And for the month of May, which is Jewish Heritage Month, we are officially queering Jewish Heritage Month with our fourth annual JQT Heritage Month. There's going to be 3 programs. We have an artisan market, as well as a history of Jewish drag presentation by a visiting artist in residence, Stav Mishar. We have another presentation actually by Stav, Circus Jews under National Socialism. It's going to be super interesting. And then my favorite, although they're all my favorites, but this in particular because I've been working on, and all of JQT's been working on for 3 years, the BC Jewish Queer and Trans Oral History Project, and we are officially launching it at the end of May. So really exciting times at JQT, and in particular, the celebration of 100 years of Jewish LGBTQ history in BC.
Yeah, that's really amazing. So these events, they're going to be happening May 15th, May 17th, and again at the end of the month, the exhibit launch. Whereabouts are they?
Yes, so May 15th, the Artisan Market's going to be at the Parrott Center, which is really close to Langara, Canada Line. May 17th is the Circus Jews talk. That's going to be at the JCC in the WASC Auditorium. That's near the 41st and Oak, Canada Line. And May 28th will be the exhibit of the Oral History Project. That's also happening at the JCC near the Oak Ridge, Canada Line stop.
And so the Seniors Guide, can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so during the Oral History Project, we were interviewing elders in our community, and they were sharing with us their concerns about entering long-term care. Fears about, one, will it be LGBTQ friendly? Will they need to hide their identity and go back into the closet in their twilight years? In addition to also fearing for their safety as Jewish people, and the discrimination that they might face in terms of anti-Semitism. Also something you don't want to be dealing with in your twilight years. So this birthed an initiative at JQT called the JQT Seniors Initiative, which in the past year became a community response network of Jewish, LGBTQ, and healthcare organizations to really take a look and assess what's going on in terms of healthcare for not only our aging population, but in general, the queer and trans community in the healthcare system. And over the course of a year and meeting monthly, we tried to identify where we can actually make the maximum impact. Through a community needs assessment that JQT also conducted last year, we received even more feedback, particularly from older adults in our community, about them pretty much holding off going into long-term care well after they're going to need medical attention because they simply cannot fathom the idea of going into any care home, for instance. So we decided as the JQT Seniors Initiative to create a resource guide to collect information, essentially a report card of what you can and cannot expect or plan for as you get older in the Jewish community, in the LGBTQ community, and in healthcare in BC in the year 2023. We're hoping that this information can help members in our community make informed decisions about their future. Everything from planning ahead, getting your will in order, picking out who your advocates are going to be,
Yeah.
but also thinking about where your Jewish and queer identities might come into some friction in healthcare. So, for example, how will trans and non-binary bodies be prepared for Jewish ritual, burial, in the Orthodox tradition, for instance? Will your non-Jewish partners be able to be buried with you in a Jewish cemetery? These are all considerations that need to be made in advance, well in advance. And this is one of the things that our resource guide is trying to advocate, is that you must make all these arrangements in advance. You
Yeah.
can't leave it to instructions in your will after you're gone. Your friends, your family, your community needs to know what your wishes are before that.
Yeah. Well ahead of time and getting allies and people who can speak for you when you're not able to. Yeah. So you mentioned people not going into care homes, people delaying going into care homes. Is there a good queer friendly senior center or long-term care home anywhere around here?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Catherine. Well, I hate to break it to you. This isn't just a Jewish community
Yeah.
issue at JQT. This is a full-on issue. There are no LGBTQ designated specific options for independent living, assisted living, long-term care, or hospice
Yeah.
in BC, point blank. So that's, I'm sharing that with you so that there's, right across the board, this does not exist. So if you think you're going to go into a place where it's for us, no, it's not currently the state of things. There are, however, some options that are known to be LGBTQ friendly, and one in particular is Harrow Park in the West End. Ironically, it was started by the Vancouver Jewish Building Society and the Netherlands Society. Interesting partnership going on there. But yes, that offers independent living, assisted living, and long-term care. Um, there are a few options that are Jewish. There's the Weinberg residence. For assisted living, there's Louis Breyer Home and Hospital. For long-term care and hospice, now they are members of the JQT Seniors Initiative, but they currently have not gone through LGBTQ competency training and are open to discussing this further with JQT. So when you're thinking about where to go, will it be, at least as a Jewish LGBTQ person, where are you going to go? What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the Harrow Park that is known to be LGBTQ friendly, that potentially, might have some Jewish cultural stuff if you can get in? Um, if you're a Vancouver resident, I don't know really if it's open to anyone. Actually, it might be open to people outside if they're willing to pay the price. All of these options, by the way, are extremely expensive.
Very, very.
I don't think people know really quite how much the monthly costs are. It could be anywhere from 3,000 to as high as 11,000. And it's not just based on your tax filing year, but it's based on availability, wait lists. I mean, it's been such a mess to even collect this information because it's not in one place. And so the JQT
Yeah.
Seniors resource guide is here so that it's all in one place from the beginning to the end, so you can make your decisions accordingly.
Yeah. No, I know we've heard people talking about like, oh, we need to start a, LGBTQ seniors home and or a long-term care facility in like 20 years. I think people have been talking about it. Like, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. Just never happens. And it's just really unfortunate that the status quo is what it is. And especially like when people are going into housing or like, long-term care housing, you don't have the ability to do research. I mean, you're struggling, right?
Yeah. Coupled with that is the fact that our local health authorities are not asking when they do the intake assessments if someone identifies as LGBTQ. Now, for the record, you and I are a bit younger. We don't come from a generation when it was illegal necessarily to be who we were. So when asking seniors and older people to disclose this information,
Right.
that it's unheard of. And the shift is going to happen in a matter of time. But until then, the fact that this information is not being collected is a concern. One, that means we're not getting the person-centered care that we seem to be told we're supposed to be receiving. Um, And also, say they do start asking this question and they collect this data and this information. Well, what are they going to do with that then? Is the infrastructure set in place
Right.
in order to support those who are belonging to the LGBTQ community? Will that affect room sharing policies in these care homes? Will it, be determined that, oh, maybe we shouldn't put this gay person with this, homophobic resident in the same room? I think these are a lot of considerations, and I don't think change is easy, but we do
Right.
need to start putting pressure because this is not looking good for BC. There are other provinces in Canada, particularly back east, who do have some homes that are for the LGBTQ community. I think it's only a matter of time to come out west, but as you know, things take time, especially,
Yeah.
across the border in the US. We're hearing amazing stuff that's happening, but we don't even have human composting here. So let's
Yeah.
one step at a time. So I'm hoping that with this resource guide, it's um, it's going to shed some light on what is and isn't possible and what you can and can't plan for. So your expectations of like, oh, you think you're Jewish and you're going to be able to go say into this Jewish home. Well, there's a few things that you need to consider. One, will it be LGBTQ friendly? And two, if it's according to um, Orthodox law around death, then you also need to think about, do you want the option for MAID, medical assistance in dying? Because that
Right.
might come into conflict with that. Do you want a Jewish burial? Do you want to be in a Jewish cemetery? All of these things need to be taken into consideration well before the fact that you die. And all the answers to these questions also vary from synagogue and community to the next.
Right. Yeah. So, in all your research here, and I know it's not just you, obviously, it's just lots of people doing loads of stuff. Uh, is there like, if there's a top three things to do, what would they be?
Well, I would say first and foremost, share this resource guide. This is not just for the Jewish community.
Right.
I think it's for anyone who has a person in their home who might be LGBTQ. Death can happen at any time in our community, as we know. It doesn't happen just to older people.
Hmm.
So I really do feel that this resource guide, even though it says it's a seniors resource guide, it's really a guide for all ages for the Jewish LGBTQ community. Two, I feel that this resource guide can also be used as a template to help support other communities, especially those that might be from cultural and religious groups as well, having to navigate their queer and trans um, elders in their community. Because what might be specific to the Jewish community might not be applicable, but a lot of other things are. And it would be nice for people in all communities to have information and access to information so that they too can live out their days with dignity. And then the third piece, we got to start putting pressure on getting senior housing that is for the LGBTQ community.
Yep.
This is so past needed. We needed it yesterday. We needed it 20 years ago.
Yep.
And the one thing that I will say is, having now interviewed a lot of older people in our community, I am sad that I'm not in a position to create the senior housing that they deserve for everything that they've done, everything that they've lived through. I'm sad that if we do accomplish any of this in the future, it will be decades from now, maybe hopefully in time for when I'm old and need a place to be. But I'm sad for those who I can't help right now. But I've already received feedback from people in regards to this seniors resource guide. There's also a feedback survey, and I cry reading the responses. They're all anonymous. I have no idea who's writing to us. But for instance, an older trans person said that they feel seen, that they never thought that a guide like this would ever be prepared for them. Realized, things are not looking good. They're gonna have to start making some plans now, and God forbid if their sister dies before they do, who would be there to make sure that their body is taken care of and is respected? So there's a lot of things that I think can come from this. There aren't calls to actions in this particular resource guide. It's simply like this is the current state of things. And I have a feeling that our follow-up will be, once we get feedback from this resource guide, is, well, really, what are the next steps?
Yeah. So how can people access the guide?
Please visit our website at www.jqtvancouver.ca. On the front page, there is a link to the JQT Seniors Initiative, and to our resource guide. You can also check out information for JQT Heritage Month and all of our fun festival events and lineup. So all the information is on our website, as well as our socials on Facebook and Instagram at JQTVAN.
Yeah, right on. And you also noticed your the artisan market, the Circus Jews presentation, and the oral history launches. Their details are there as well on the website. So yeah,
Actually, there was one more thing that I wanted to add, and it is in June for Pride Month. In response to the Seniors Resource Guide, we want to offer the opportunity for anyone who wants to ask questions to a queer-friendly rabbi who's also queer, a lesbian, who also is the head of Chevra Kadisha, which is the Jewish Orthodox burial movement, to ask questions about what is and isn't possible. So that's happening in June as well. And then a commiserating group called Loose Ends, JQT Edition. That's going to be with Karen Newmoon, who's an awesome Jewish Indigenous facilitator and amazing person who really likes to talk about the end of times and what to do and how to do, and help support people in their journey to prepare with their
yeah,
family and friends.
very cool, very needed. Thanks so much. I know the situation's not great, but hopefully it's going to improve. I know everyone's been saying the exact same thing, but I think at the very least, right now, there isn't anything equivalent to this, and identifying the lack of services is really huge. And hopefully something spurns from that. So
Hope so too. Thank you so much. I do know that this is in the hands of Vancouver Coastal Health Authority as well. So I'm hoping that they will use this in their long-term care training sessions, for future caregivers and current caregivers, as well as senior management of various different facilities. So I really do think that this will help push the meter in a direction that we need it.
yeah, right on. Well, thanks so much.